Nigeria's Niger Delta region is one part of the country that is rich in natural resources, as its vast oil and gas deposits are the mainstay of the nation's economy. The region, in the southernmost part of the country, features coastal barrier islands, mangroves, freshwater swamp forests, and lowland rainforests. The coast offers various ways of making a living, like fishing, tourism, producing salt, and farming coconut and bananas. The Nigeria's oil-rich Niger Delta is enmeshed in conflict that exhibits environmental resource and political dimensions which have resulted in consistently declining oil revenue. Yet, government policy prospects, plans, and programs for addressing the conflict, regional development, and economic transformation have not been subjected to strategic environmental assessment. On this show today, we take a look at the book, The Hidden Treasures, an exposition of the rich resources and opportunities of the Niger Delta. Joining us on this show to review his latest work is Deacon Chris Iyovwaye, a visionary industrialist and philanthropist. Good morning, Deacon Iyovwaye, and thank you for joining us on the morning show.
Dr. Abati, good morning. Thank you. I'm so grateful to be on your show. Ayo and Vimbai, thank you for having me.
You're welcome.
Good morning.
Well, Deacon, I have no doubt that your book, I've seen a copy only in the last 24 hours or so, were produced, were presented. In those days when I was a judge assessing copies, I used to say a book should be well presented. The optics will appear important. So you've done a good job. But unfortunately, I don't think anybody on this table has read the book because we were given a copy very late. And we don't even have copies here. So let's start by you showing us a copy of the book, and then you tell us what is in the book. And maybe from your account, we now begin to raise a number of questions. Over to you.
Ruben, thank you. I present this book, as you can see, The Hidden Treasures in the Niger Delta. The Niger Delta, blessed, with a lot of natural resources, particularly, the human resource. And then those are the things, I tend to deal with in this book. I've got 14 chapters. The book was also forwarded by our former president, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. But having said that, I want to make it quickly clear that, for generations, you see the narrative that is coming out, the kind of press we enjoy in the Niger Delta. And some of those things you have just said, in your introduction. But the truth remains that region, I want to emphasize, from Ondo to Abia, is endowed with so much resources that probably we are just barely scratching the surface. Every time, you talk about the Niger Delta, the next thing that comes to mind is the black gold. But beyond that, I'm presenting before the world that much more, there are huge resources that has not been touched at all, which can be responsibly exploited for the common good of our people and country. That's what this book tells you. It is a compendium of my works as a result of my engagement over the years in the business space. And I think that this book is going to spark, another dimension of interest in the area. The way people look at the Niger Delta, the way people see the Niger Delta. I tell you, that particular region is gifted to this country by reason of the kind of things we support this country in terms of resources. I think I want to stop there for now.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Dike and Iyovwaye. Now, I thank you for highlighting, as you've mentioned in your book, the many potentials of untapped resources in the Niger Delta. But in the course of the research for this book, I want to ask you, what were some of the challenges encountered? Just give us it. And was this, did you highlight this in the book? Because sometimes I believe that we'll be able to also learn from the reasons why so far we've not been able to tap into the rich resources that you've identified in your book in the Niger Delta.
Well, if on my, introduction, I was trying to, to say the resources that are there, and what I presented in this book is a result of my engagement. So it's not so much of research work as it were. I've been a principal player in it. It's just to share the experience that I've had over the years. And one of the things I'm particularly, an oil service person, by the reason of the service that I give in the industry. And in this book, I've also taken time to see, to deal with the areas, even in the oil and gas industry, that are there and they are not being looked at. But much more, the other resources. You talk about lignite, manganese, uranium, gold, kaolin, gypsum is endless. These are multi-billion-dollar industries all by themselves. And you see that, emphasis is placed more on hydrocarbon without looking at this. These are the things I'm bringing into the front burner. That rather than dwelling so much on hydrocarbon itself is probably less than 130 years old. And people are constantly looking today for alternative source of energy. And as you can see, hydrocarbon is on its way out. So what we are saying is that we have other resources that we need to look at that can be responsibly exploited for the common good of the people in our country.
And that's very well said.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying.
Yes. And I mean, just to take the conversation forward, because I mean, I see you dedicated a chapter to, I saw the summary where you dedicated a chapter to emerging potential. Now, those who analyze and advocate for various parts of the economy in the Niger Delta often say that, before we even get to the mineral wealth that you're talking about, that the water itself that's readily available, the waterways and so forth, have barely been exploited. What's your take on this? And, do you prescribe any strategic way forward in your book as to how, before we even start digging under the earth for these precious minerals, what about just the waterways themselves? And what has stopped us from, making bigger, more profitable ports realized in the Niger Delta? So many things to look at. What do you prescribe as a way forward?
Well, I want to take on, when you talk about the Niger Delta, you are talking about, the marine life and then the upland, for agriculture. Which I want to call probably, part of it, the blue economy, and probably, that encompass, the ocean economy as well. That has barely, in terms of fisheries, in terms of, marine transportation. Like I tell you, I live in Warri, and, you want to go to Lagos, you have to travel endlessly. And today, let's not talk about, the kind of road networks that we have. But Lagos is just behind Warri by water. That is something I've seen. You go to Calabar and you see, a lot of traffic, from Calabar to Cameroon, which is perhaps even a longer distance from Warri, for example, to Lagos. So those are the things we want to see exploited that have not been for so many years. Particularly if you look at that, then you now start talking about the fisheries potential that have not been exploited. Those are the things that need to be exploited. And that's what this book, is talking about.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us. Oh, okay, you still have a little more time. But this whole issue about Niger Delta, about resources, there is a standing argument, I don't know whether you cover that in your book, that the Nigerian government, when the crisis erupted, ensured that a person from the Niger Delta became president of Nigeria. That's President Goodluck Jonathan. also set up the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, also ensured better allocation for, the Niger Delta states. And yet, in spite of this, these resources that you talk about, the Nigerian government say it has been fair. The people say, well, it is not enough. We have not seen enough development. Other Nigerians say the problem is with the people of the Niger Delta themselves. The politics amongst them, their lack of commitment to their own region. What do you say to that? Because that is one issue on the table when you are talking about the rich resources of the Niger Delta.
Well, Ruben, thank you. Thank you for trying to bring some of the policies of your former boss. But the thing there, Ruben, what this book will not talk about is about governance, and policies, as they were. And if you remember in my opening remark, I mentioned, apart from the natural resource, the human resource, that we have. It's okay to say, as a matter of fact, you have government policies, you have Untapped, you have NDDC, you have all of that. But and the truth remains, just like you have said, you can't see it, you can't feel it, in that space. There's still so much, chaos. There's still so much, you don't see anything good. You travel around the area, and you begin to wonder, is this the area, that moves, currently does 80% of our revenue comes from that area. And you can see it. You can say, okay, government can say, okay, you have policies, but it is also the responsibility of government to ensure, that these resources that are being accrued in terms of derivation to that area, that it cascades down to the people. If that is not done, I would want to think that, it is failure on the part of the government, because you see other parts of country, that you can see so much good. And then in our area, in the Niger Delta, you don't see it. I want to be careful, in terms of doing that. I'm here today to try and, propagate what I have, what I think, what I consider a burden, that if people are not looking at it, okay. Yeah, that's what I want. So I want to talk about the book. Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, I get you. I don't want to argue with you, Mr. Iyovwaye, but I can tell you, when people from the Niger Delta say that they have not seen the development, they have not seen what Nigerian government has done for them in the Niger Delta. No, that may be a misrepresentation. I can confirm to you that in 1999, when we returned to democracy, let's take the example of Iyovwaye. I visited Iyovwaye. I'm not telling you fiction. There was only one petrol station in Iyovwaye. There was only one route. And that only one route led to the Atlantic Ocean if you went to the end of that route. Okay? But today, look at Iyovwaye. Every governor that came from Alami Esega to Jonathan, to Silva, to Countryman, to Timipre Silva, and all the people who have been there, that state looks different. Not just Iyovwaye, but also the other places. And this is because democracy brought development to Bayelsa State. The same thing with Akwa Ibom. If you went to Akwa Ibom in 1999, the whole place looked like it was a village. Go to Akwa Ibom today. One governor after the other has also done his own bit. The place is very cosmopolitan. In those days, if you went to Akwa Ibom and you were from Lagos, you were treated like you just came from London. All the pretty girls will be saying, welcome to our country, welcome to our country. They don't say that anymore because they have seen development. So this narrative that democracy has not brought development, I don't think it is true. I can go to other states, but we don't have time. Briefly, if you want to respond
Ruben,
to that.
I know Yeah, for the exigencies of time, I would just want to deal with that, because I tell you, my being here today is to really dwell on this book and how it profits us. All the things that you need to do. If it's more like a roadmap, for development on the resources. That is why I'm here. But then again, sir, I want to take you on the kind of development you are talking, particularly in Bayelsa. So the resources that have come from Bayelsa, and you think is commensurate to the development that you see there, I believe that you are well traveled around the world. Sir, the kind of development and the resources that have emanated from Bayelsa, it's not, you can't put a hand on it. The kind of development you said is one road. Bayelsa is supposed to be, a place that is more like heaven on earth. With good network of roads, with all of that. So if you compare, yes, please, I don't want to dwell on that. That's for another day. Please, let's zero down on why I'm here, which is how to exploit responsibly the resources that we have in the area.
Okay, no problem. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm sure you'll come again after we have all read your book, and then there will be an opportunity for a debate.